Remember that cool Hummer H2 that used to turn heads on every street? Or the funky Scion XB that was all the rage among young drivers? These are just 2 of the 9 legendary car brands we're about to explore that have disappeared from our roads. Get ready for a nostalgic ride through automotive history. Number 1. Hummer. As we cruise through automotive history, we'll encounter a brand that embodied American excess like no other. But here's the kicker. This gas-guzzling giant didn't just fade away, it pulled off the ultimate transformation. Can you guess which brand went from military might to green machine? Enter Hummer, the civilian version of the military Humvee that roared onto American streets in 1992. This wasn't just a car, it was a statement. With its rugged design and imposing presence, Hummer quickly became the ride of choice for celebrities and anyone looking to make a big impression. But Hummer's story took an unexpected turn. As fuel prices soared and environmental concerns grew, these massive vehicles faced a changing landscape. Consumers started favoring more fuel-efficient options, and suddenly, Hummer's gas-guzzling reputation became a liability. The 2008 financial crisis dealt the final blow. General Motors, who had acquired the brand in 1999, filed for bankruptcy in 2009. By 2010, Hummer production came to a screeching halt. It seemed like the end of the road for this iconic brand. But hold on to your hats, because Hummer wasn't done surprising us. In a twist that would have seemed impossible during its heyday, GMC announced in 2022 that Hummer was making a comeback as an electric vehicle. Number 2. Scion. While Hummer made an unexpected pivot, another brand tried to capture the hearts of young drivers from the start. Remember Scion? Toyota's bold move to attract millennials seemed promising at first, but something went terribly wrong. What turned this hip, customizable brand into automotive history? Back in 2003, Toyota decided to play the cool parent. They launched Scion, a brand aimed squarely at younger buyers who weren't connecting with their main lineup. Scion wasn't just about cars, it was a whole vibe. With models like the Boxy XB and Sporty TC, Scion offered something different. Vehicles that stood out in a sea of sameness. Scion's approach was all about customization. Young drivers could make their cars truly their own, choosing from a buffet of accessories and options. The brand even shook up how cars were sold, with a pure price model that ditched the haggling most folks dreaded at dealerships. At first, Scion was the talk of the town. Their unique designs and youthful marketing struck a chord with millennials looking for affordable, stylish rides. But as the years rolled on, Scion's initial spark began to fade. Competition heated up, and suddenly being the youth brand wasn't enough. By 2016, Toyota pulled the plug on their cool kid experiment. Scion models just weren't selling like they used to, and the challenges of maintaining a separate brand focused on such a specific market became too much. In the end, Scion's story shows just how tricky it can be to keep up with younger generations in the fast-paced world of cars. Number 3. Daihatsu. While Scion struggled to win over American millennials, another brand faced an even tougher challenge. Ever heard of Daihatsu? This Japanese automaker was a giant in its homeland. But when it tried to conquer the US market, something unexpected happened. What made this automotive David crumble against the American Goliaths? Daihatsu's story begins way back in 1907 in Japan. At first, they were all about those tiny 3-wheel trucks, but eventually, they shifted gears to passenger cars. Their claim to fame? The K-car? Those super small, super efficient vehicles that Japanese drivers just couldn't get enough of. By the 1960s, Daihatsu decided it was time to go global. They set their sights on the US, thinking their compact cars would be a hit. But here's the thing, Americans weren't quite ready for these mini motors. While Daihatsu was killing it in Japan and other markets, their American adventure was short and not so sweet. What went wrong? Well, it turns out that competing in the US auto market is tougher than parallel parking a Hummer. Daihatsu just couldn't measure up to the big boys like Ford and GM. Plus, most Americans had never even heard of Daihatsu. It's hard to sell cars when no one knows your name. By 1992, Daihatsu waved the white flag and pulled out of the US market, but don't feel too bad for them. They're still going strong in Japan and other places, sticking to what they do best, making affordable, efficient little cars. Number 4. Geo. As Daihatsu retreated from the US, another brand was gearing up to capture the market for small, efficient cars. But what if I told you this new contender wasn't Japanese, but as American as apple pie? Get ready to uncover the story of a car brand that tried to out-Japan the Japanese right in GM's backyard. Enter Geo, General Motors' bold attempt to compete with the influx of Japanese imports flooding the U.S. market in the late 1980s. Launched in 1989, Geo was GM's answer to the growing demand for small, fuel-efficient vehicles that wouldn't break the bank. It was like GM decided to throw on a pair of skinny jeans and try to blend in with the cool kids from Tokyo. Geo's lineup included some real head-turners. There was the Metro, a tiny car that could squeeze into parking spots other vehicles wouldn't dare approach. Then you had the Tracker, perfect for those who wanted a taste of off-road adventure without the gas-guzzling guilt. These little cars were designed to be budget-friendly options that appealed to folks looking for economical rides. For a while, Geo seemed to be cruising along nicely. The brand enjoyed massive sales in the early 90s, with its compact and affordable options hitting the sweet spot for many American drivers. But as the old saying goes, the only constant is change. By the mid-90s, the automotive landscape started shifting. Suddenly, bigger was better again, and the competition for small, affordable cars went through the roof. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Number 5, Yugo. Just when Americans thought they had seen it all in the world of affordable cars, along came a vehicle that redefined the meaning of budget-friendly. But at what cost? Imagine a car so cheap, it made you question everything you knew about value. Welcome to the wild ride of the Yugo, the little car that couldn't. In the 1980s, the Yugo burst onto the American scene with a promise that seemed too good to be true. A brand new car at a used car price. Manufactured by Zastava Automobiles in Yugoslavia, this compact car quickly captured attention with its rock-bottom price tag. First-time car buyers were thrilled to find a simple, no-frills vehicle that wouldn't break the bank. But as the old saying goes, you get what you pay for. The initial excitement surrounding the Yugo soon gave way to a flood of complaints. Owners found themselves dealing with a laundry list of issues. Engine problems, electrical faults, and rust were just the tip of the iceberg. Safety features? Let's just say they were more of an afterthought. As word spread about the Yugo's shortcomings, its reputation took a nosedive. Negative media coverage and customer backlash led to plummeting sales. It didn't help that international sanctions were crippling Yugo's production capabilities back in Yugoslavia. By 2008, the Yugo experiment had come to an inglorious end. Number 6, Triumph. While Yugo's story ended in failure, another beloved brand met a different fate. Remember the thrill of spotting a sleek British sports car on the road? There was a time when Triumph ruled the streets with its stylish designs, but what caused this icon of British motoring to vanish without a trace? Triumph wasn't just another car brand. It was a symbol of British performance and style. Back in the day, these sporty machines turned heads and captured hearts with their sleek lines and powerful engines. The TR6, for instance, became a true icon of the 1960s and 70s, embodying everything cool about British motoring culture. But even the mightiest engines can sputter. In the 1970s, Triumph faced a perfect storm of challenges. The oil crisis hit hard, changing what drivers wanted in a car. Financial troubles started piling up, and quality control issues didn't help matters. It was like watching your favorite sports team lose game after game. Painful for fans and the brand alike. As if that wasn't enough, Triumph found itself in a tough spot competitively. Other car makers were upping their game, and Triumph struggled to keep pace. It wasn't just external rivals. Even other British brands were giving Triumph a run for its money. The company that once produced up to 30,000 cars a year was running out of gas. Number 7, Austin. As Triumph's engine sputtered, another British powerhouse was revving up for its final lap. Remember the Austin? This brand didn't just build cars, it built a nation of drivers. But why did a company that got Britain moving end up stalling out? Austin roared onto the scene in 1905, quickly becoming a household name. Founded by Herbert Austin, this company had a mission: to make cars accessible to the average British family. And boy, did they succeed. Models like the A40, A50, and A90 became staples on British roads, turning Austin into a symbol of affordable mobility. But success can be a double-edged sword. As Austin grew, it faced stiff competition from American manufacturers. The solution? Mergers, lots of them. Austin joined forces with other British brands, eventually becoming part of the British Leyland Motor Corporation. Sounds impressive, right? Well, not quite. Here's where things took a wrong turn. Inside this mega company, Austin found itself competing for resources with other brands. Quality started to slip, and the company's identity began to blur. By the 1970s, Austin was in trouble. The British government even had to step in and take over in 1975. Despite efforts to save it, Austin's distinctive character was fading away. By 1987, the brand was officially phased out, with many of its models rebranded under the Rover name. It's a bittersweet ending for a company that, as one historian put it, was arguably one of the most successful British vehicles of the 20th century, popularizing car ownership in Great Britain. Number 8. Morris. Austin wasn't the only British automaker to fall victim to corporate reshuffling. Remember Morris? This brand was once so common on UK roads, you'd think they were growing on trees. But how did a company that put Britain behind the wheel end up in the rearview mirror of history? Morris Motors, founded by William Morris in the early 20th century, became a household name by producing affordable and practical vehicles. Their cars, like the iconic Morris Minor and the sturdy Morris Oxford, weren't just modes of transportation. They were part of the fabric of British life. These vehicles helped shape car ownership in Britain, making four-wheeled freedom accessible to the masses. But success in the auto industry can be as unpredictable as British weather. In 1952, Morris Motors merged with its rival Austin to form the British Motor Corporation, BMC. At first, this seemed like a match made in automotive heaven, but as time went on, the lines between the two brands began to blur, leading to an awkward internal competition. Things got even more complicated in 1968 when BMC joined forces with British Leyland. Suddenly, Morris found itself in a crowded garage, alongside brands like Jaguar and Triumph. It was like trying to fit too many cars into one parking space. Something had to give. As the 1970s rolled in, British Leyland started streamlining its operations. They focused on their top-selling brands and models, and sadly, Morris didn't make the cut. By 1984, the Morris name had disappeared from showrooms, becoming another casualty of automotive evolution. Number 9. Rover. Morris wasn't the only British brand to hit a dead end. Remember Rover? Once the crown jewel of British automotive luxury, it seemed unstoppable. So how did this off-road champion end up off the market entirely? Let's shift gears and explore the rise and fall of Rover. Rover was the epitome of British automotive excellence, known for its prestigious luxury and off-road vehicles. Founded in 1878, this brand built a reputation for tough, reliable cars that could handle any terrain. The Land Rover, in particular, became an icon of rugged elegance. During its golden era, Rover was synonymous with quality and innovation. It wasn't just a car, it was a status symbol. Owning a Rover meant you had arrived. But even the mightiest empires can fall, and Rover's story took an unexpected turn. In 1994, BMW saw potential in Rover and decided to add it to their collection. They had big plans, investing in new models and hoping to revive the brand's former glory. But sometimes, even the best intentions can't save a sinking ship. Despite BMW's efforts, Rover continued to struggle, racking up significant financial losses. What followed was a series of ownership changes and failed partnerships. It was like watching a game of hot potato, with Rover being passed from one company to another. Each new owner brought fresh hope, but none could stop the brand's decline. Changing consumer preferences and fierce market competition proved too much for this once mighty nameplate. Wow, what a journey through automotive history. We've seen everything from military might turned eco-friendly to budget experiments that crashed and burned. These 9 brands may be gone, but they're definitely not forgotten. Even today, you can see their influence in modern car design and marketing. The spirit of Hummer lives on in rugged SUVs, while Scion's youthful energy still inspires automakers targeting younger buyers. And who doesn't get a little nostalgic seeing a classic Triumph or Morris on the road? Hey, got any memories of these lost legends? Maybe you owned one, or your neighbor had that quirky Yugo everyone talked about. We'd love to hear your stories. As we look to the future of cars, with electric vehicles and self-driving tech on the horizon, it makes you wonder, which of today's brands will still be around in 30 years?